Okay, another Gmat sentence correction. Here the problem is the comma, and this comma is not very good either, but please remember that after a modifying phrase, after the comma, or if it happens to be here before the modifying phrase and before the comma, the noun must touch the modifying phrase, otherwise we have a dangling modifier. And who predicted is not what was contrary to financial analysts. Doesn't really sound very good anyway, does it? Contrary to financial analysts. And if this is a non-defining relative clause, then we should be able to read it and make sense. Contrary to financial analysts, the personal computer industry continued to show strong growth, and that doesn't make sense. It's illogical. So we'll come on to B, and we have the same problem with the relative clause in the middle, which means that the first clause and the last clause don't make sense. So B is certainly wrong also. If we come on to C, C gets rid of the comma, so it's already doing well. It's already doing better. However, I would say that contrary to financial analysts and their predictions, this sounds like whatever it is. Well, this sounds like the contrasting clause, the personal computer industry continued to show strong growth. It sounds like the contrasting clause is contrary to financial analysts, and it's contrary to their predictions. And that's not true. It's only contrary to their predictions. So it's ambiguous. See, it's contrary to the analysts and contrary to their predictions. And it's not, is it? Logically, we're trying to compare the personal computers industry's strong growth. We're comparing it with the financial analysts' predictions. We're comparing it with E, which is why E is correct, of course. This is actually the subject of the contrast in the second sentence, so that's why E must be correct. And we can't say contrary to financial analysts. Well, if we do say contrary to financial analysts predicting last year that the market for home computers would dwindle, then we're changing the meaning. We're contrasting it with the financial analyst and not with the prediction. So it really must be E. It's that prediction, the prediction of the financial analyst, which is contrasted with the personal computer industry showing strong growth. I hope that makes sense. So D is certainly wrong, because we're not contrasting it with the financial analyst, we're contrasting it with the prediction. Okay, let's look at another sentence correction. If we look at A, whereas before they required 5 handbrakers over a distance of 1,500 feet for such a train to be stopped, my first question would be concerning the they. I think you should always pay attention to pronouns in these questions and ask, what does they refer to? Well, if we go earlier in the sentence, they refers to a train of 50 freight cars. Now, a train cannot be represented by they. A train is singular, and it sounds rather odd to refer they to 50 freight cars, whereas before 50 freight cars required 5 handbrakers over a distance of 1,500 feet. It sounds very odd with that singular article. So I don't think A sounds good at all. Let's come on to B. B is obviously the correct one, for those who already know. Some of you may already know. Now, we use the whereas correctly here, and previously is used before instead of before. I think it actually sounds better here, because in C and E, where we use before, have a look how it sounds. But before stopping the train required 5 handbrakers. Now, to me, that sounds like before is modifying stopping the train, and that's not the meaning which we intend. This is the subject here, but before stopping the train, this is the subject of this sentence. The whole of it becomes a subject. Before stopping the train required 5 handbrakers, and that's not what we mean. What we really need here is a comma, but before comma, I'm sorry, I'll get rid of that and just try and make it look like a comma, but before comma, stopping the train required 5 handbrakers, because before should mean earlier, in the past, and so it has to be split up from the stopping the train, or else it starts to modify the stopping the train. And so C cannot be correct. Let's give it a nice red cross. C is not correct, and E is not correct for the same reason. But before stopping such a train, before becomes part of the stopping such a train, instead of referring to the past, like it does here, where we say whereas previously. That's really clear that you mean in the past, whereas previously 5 handbrakers operating over a distance of 1,500 feet had been required to stop such a train. So we can't use C or E, and D I don't like. Previously they required X number of feet, or X handbrakers over a number of feet, to stop the train. I don't like stopping. You require X to stop the train. You require something to do something. You don't require something doing something. So the gerund is wrong. It needs to be 2 plus infinitive.